Welcome to this pre-recorded training on completing a child application in ELMS. I'm Joyce Kilmer with the State Department of Early Learning ECAP program. This is part of a series of training modules on ECAP eligibility and enrollment. I'll be showing you the whole list of the training modules towards the end of this presentation, and you can access them from the ELMS news page. What we're going to talk about today is the order of completing the application after the pre-screen. I'm going to demonstrate the application in ELMS, show you how to add children to the waiting list, show what the next steps are, and then show you where to access the paper forms if you want to also use paper forms. In ELMS, you must complete the child's pre-screen before you start their application. There's no way to go into the application directly unless a pre-screen is completed. If you need more information on this, please see the training module on completing a child pre-screen in ELMS. While the pre-screen is the quick step to verify that a child's basically eligible for ECAP, the application asks questions to look at documentation, to verify the child's eligibility, help you learn the details to prioritize the children most in need of ECAP services, gather information so that we can produce statewide reports that show the need for ECAP, and begin collecting information for your family support and health coordination services. We're going to go straight into the ELMS demonstration now and look at the application. So to find the application, you click on the child module. I'm in today as an ECAP eligibility and enrollment staff person. So this is what you'll see if you have that role. I'm going to click on search in the lower right of the screen, and that produces the list of all the children who are available for me to see in ELMS. These are all pretend children. Please know I'm in as a pretend ECAP contractor, and you will not be seeing any confidential data during this presentation. I'm going to start by finding Roger Ramos. It's at the bottom of this page. We did his pre-screen during the module on pre-screens. I want to let you know that at this point I can view Roger's pre-screen by clicking on the far right where the action says View Pre-Screen. I can open it up, but I can't make changes in it. Once a pre-screen is finished, I can page through it, but it's locked down. You can make changes to some of these same categories inside the application, but a pre-screen locks upon completion. Okay, I'm going to go back out of this, find Roger again, and this time I'm going to click Create Application on the child search next to his name. Okay, the first page of the 7 pages of the application here, the first page is called Verifications. You may be filling this out before you have all the verification, but you must have the child verified before they're enrolled in a class. The only exception is if a child's homeless and documentation is unavailable. In that case, the federal McKinney-Vento law allows 90 days from enrollment for you to gather the documentation and verify. So the first thing is the name of the staff person verifying eligibility and information. I'm in here today as a staff person with a very funny name of eligibility enrollment. and I am saying, by leaving this name here, I'm saying I'm the one who looked at the documents, saw that they were matching what we're entering here into ELMS. You're going to want to make sure that you select the name of the person who viewed the documents here. Okay, I'm reviewing that we've got a nickname for this child of Junior, his birth date, and then it turns out that I get the birth certificate to verify birth date, and I had done a typo the first time. His birthday is really the 28th of January. So I'm going to correct that. Well, I'm not correcting it very well, am I? There we go. Okay. There are many other choices for what you could verify the age based on. And if you don't have any of these choices available, you can click Other and write in what's true. It's in the last resort is that it's a parent report. If you can find documentation or if the parent can provide documentation, please use that. This is to your benefit. It's your backup in case there's a complaint or lawsuit about eligibility fraud in the situation where a parent may not be telling the whole story to get the child into ECAP. So this is your backup for that. Okay, next thing is we're verifying that the parent or legal guardian has the authority to enroll the child. And I'm going to say I could tell that by the birth certificate this time too. There's many other choices here. And again, there's the choice of other as a last resort. So child in foster care, no. If that has changed since I did the pre-screen, I could change it to yes here. And then it would require that I enter the monthly foster care grant. It's one of the few places we enter something monthly in ELMS. I'd be entering the monthly foster care grant and then the foster care case number. It could also be, some children are in foster care but they're receiving SSI, so it could be the SSI case number. But I'm going to say no, not in foster care. If the guardian was receiving a child-only TANF cash grant, I would change this to yes. That's usually a kinship care situation. And if Roger had changed care from his parents to his grandparents, since we did the pre-screen, I might be saying yes there, putting in the monthly child-only TANF cash grant amount and the client ID for that. But I'm going to say no in that situation. Is the child currently homeless? No, that hasn't changed. Family size is down here. Let's say Roger's family had a new baby in the last month. So I'm going to click the button to change family size. I'm going to add one more child here. Just raising all the numbers by one. And we now have a family size of 6 in this situation. And I verified the family size by, let's see, I looked at last year's tax records and I'm not sure how I counted the baby. The baby was in their arms when they walked into the office. If you need to use other, if none of these apply, use other and enter it here where it says describe other. Okay, so that's some basic verification of the child's eligibility happened on that page. I'm clicking next, which takes me to step 2 of the application. I'm verifying that I've got the street address right, a mailing address if that's different, that we've got the right school district. Maybe I didn't have the phone numbers the first time they came in. Maybe they have a cell phone number also, and I'll want to record that later. And here would be the place at the bottom where that's optional, but I could enter the other siblings. So we've entered the parents' names on the application. If there's more information about the parents that you want to enter, you could click Edit. If I want to add another household member, this is where I do it here. And again, this is optional. This is for your use, for your family support services. But I'm going to say that I'm going to add a child named Sibling, who is female, not the step-parent. It is a sibling, and the child's age range is 0 to 5 years. And I'm going to say the child's birthday is 3/18/2010. So that makes the child a 3-year-old for this year. They're possibly ECAP eligible as well because of that. If you enter them here and they're ECAP eligible and you later want to do an application, there's a link at the end of the application where you can choose to clone the family parts of this application for the second child. So that's the value of entering in siblings, particularly if they're ECAP age eligible. If they're just younger than ECAP age, you might want to enter them just so you can follow up with them in future years. We know there's a baby here too, so I'm going to enter the brand new baby. And he is a sibling, and he's in the age range, and he was just born. Well, that was, yeah, let's see. Just born. Okay. So again, this is an optional category for you to add people to if it's useful for you for your social service reasons. Household situation. This household situation was originally 2 parent guardians in 1 primary household. If it's changed since then, there's a button over the right to make changes. If they're now a single parent household, for example, you could go ahead and click Change Household Situation. It's going to walk you through the same steps that you used in the pre-screen to describe your household situation. I'm going to move forward to the income. And this first question says, if a change is needed to the list of available parent guardians below, please adjust the household situation on the family info page, that button we just talked about. So right now this place knows that Maria and Roger, parents, might have income. If there's somebody else who has the income that would apply to ECAP eligibility, then you might want to go backwards and make the change. I'm going to answer these questions here. During the last 12 months or the last calendar year, did this family receive income? Yes. Did Maria have income? So let's say that Maria's been staying home with the baby. She hasn't had income in a while, in at least a year. Does Roger have income? Yes. Is Roger employed part-time or full-time? Let's say that he's employed full-time, and I'm going to click OK. This is setting up the income pages for you. What are Roger's income sources? So let's say that I'm going to show you the most simple one first. Roger has a tax return down here. Because it's a tax return, it's going to be from the previous calendar year. And whichever boxes you check here at the top, I'm going to randomly check some so you can see. It keeps adding categories down on the bottom of this page where you can enter those income amounts. Uncheck those now for simplicity and brevity, and say we've just got a single class tax return at this point. It was for 2012 tax year, and it says that he has had an income of $21,000. Okay. If there were more income sources, I would keep checking boxes, and I would add the incomes down the bottom of this page, and then when I'm done, I can click Save on the left if I just want to save it, or I can click OK if I'm really done with this page. This has a yellow message at the top of the next page that is saying annual income was not supplied for all parent guardians or their spouses, if any, and we didn't supply any for Maria because she didn't have any. So it's just a yellow warning message. It is not stopping you. It's just saying pay attention to this in case it's needed. And I can go right past it here. So right now I have just Roger with his annual income. I can edit it on the far right by clicking the edit button if I get additional information. And then I'm going to the bottom part of the page here. It's asking, does the annual income accurately represent the family's current situation? I'm going to say yes, it does right now. If it did not, I would check no, and I'd need to say the reason. Maybe there's a divorce, a job loss, loss of the wage earner, loss of benefits, something else that caused that to change. And if that was true, let's say there was a job loss, I would have the choice of answering yes or no. Do I want to evaluate the family's monthly income? Do I think the family's monthly income is going to be a more accurate read on what we should be looking at for ECAP eligibility? If I said yes, then I'm going to be going forward into entering another income screen and entering the monthly income. I'm going to go backwards and say this is the true reflection, this annual income. That's true in most cases. This has rated the annual income as 66% of the federal poverty level. If you were to put in a monthly income as well, then this would show the monthly income as well, and ELMS would choose the lowest federal poverty level of the two to use for ECAP eligibility. To understand more about the monthly income, please look at the training module on eligibility and enrollment overview. Okay, I'm going forward. I'm now on the 4th page of the ELMS child application. It's asking a few questions about where's this child been before? Were they previously enrolled in Head Start? Let's say yes they were. And then it's asking, were they enrolled with the logged-in contractor? Were they enrolled with your agency, or were they enrolled with a different Head Start grantee, someone else in the state? So I'm going to say they were in Head Start somewhere else in the state. Were they enrolled in early Head Start or a birth to 3 home visiting program? I'll say no. Were they enrolled in early supports for infants and toddlers? That's the early intervention program for birth to 3-year-olds with special needs. I'm going to say no. We've already said in the pre-screen that this child was on an IEP. Sometimes that question's answered incorrectly and you might need to change your answer here, but we're going to say yes, this child is on an IEP. Do they have a suspected disability? That question is grayed out because they're already on the IEP. If a child's on an IEP, you need to answer this next series of questions in the middle of the screen. I need to check the disability categories that are included in the IEP. These are the federal disability category titles here. And I'm going to say that this child's IEP says that there's a developmental delay and a hearing impairment. I'm going to choose the school district that issued the IEP. And then it's asking, is there school district special education preschool available for this child? Most often there is. In a few more rural places, the ECAP site is considered the best placement for the child, and there's not a separate preschool. That causes a 1-point difference in priority points for this child towards ECAP eligibility. It would just be likely to be used as a tiebreaker. If this child had another option for preschool and another child had the same situation but didn't have a preschool option, they might get in first. Okay. The last question here helps prioritize the child. We assure parents that it doesn't exclude the child. Has this child been expelled from an early learning program or child care due to behavior? I'm going to say no in this case. They get an extra priority point if they were. Most things on this page are related to the priority point system behind ELMS child eligibility. There is going to be a separate training module just on priority points if you'd like to understand that in more detail. Okay, I'm going on to the next page. This is the page that allows you to enter some of the environmental risk factors that may be impacting this child. These are optional questions at the top of the page, but they do impact the child's priority points in almost every case. So I'm going to say this child has a parent who's disabled. This child has one or more of their biological parents were under 18 when the child was born. And the family is really new in town and they don't have a support system. So each of these on this list have research backing them up that says that they're related to school success. And that's why these are the items that were chosen for this list. There's one exception. We don't have that research for the child has a parent currently or recently in the military. There's research that if the parent's been deployed, that has an impact on school success. But there's not research on just being in the military making school difficult. So that particular question on being currently or recently in the military does not have a priority point attached to it. It's on this list because some ECAP contractors want to collect that information because they have grants that work with families of veterans or families in the military. Okay, bottom part of this page, this is a required field that you enter the parent's highest education level. And I'm going to skip these on purpose so I can show you what happens when you skip information that's needed in ELMS. Okay. This page has health questions. We're starting to collect the information you'll use to coordinate the health services in ELMS or in ECAP. I'm answering if the child has a chronic health condition such as diabetes, asthma, seizures. I'll say yes for now. Later, once the child's enrolled, you'll be able to enter what that issue is and what kinds of follow-up are needed. Do they have a low birth weight? Let's say nobody remembers, so I'm going to click unknown. Do they have medical coverage? Let's say yes, that in this case there is some medical coverage through Dad's work. Do they have a regular doctor or medical clinic, a medical home? And you can see that that's one of those defined terms. A medical home is a physician or place where the child's known and receives their follow-up care as necessary. I'm going to say no, they're too new in town, so we'll know that's something we're going to be helping them with later on after they're enrolled. Do they have a current well child exam within the last 12 months? The parent says yes, they do, but they can't actually remember the date it was right now, so we'll be establishing that later as well. Do they have dental coverage? Let's say there's no dental coverage right now, no regular dentist, no dental screening within the last 6 months. Okay, that finishes that category. Immunization status. Let's say in this case we just don't have that information yet. So I'm going to click that. They're out of compliance at this point because they don't have a signed, completed certificate of immunization status form. These will help us know what we need to follow up on right away after the child's enrolled. None of these will keep the child from being enrolled. We're just recording what the true situation is so we can assist with this child's health coordination. Clicking next to that one. And I'm on the final page of the child application here. And it's saying the application is not completed. It gives me an option at the bottom of the page to view the incomplete information. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to see that what I omitted was the education levels of the parents. So I'm going to check that mom went through like 9th grade, let's say, and dad has a high school diploma. Again, these are factors that are related to school success of the child, so there are priority points attached to these questions, and that's why they're being required here. Okay, I clicked OK, and now we can see that Roger's application is completed. His priority points are 95. His priority level is high. He has a sibling who might be eligible for ECAP. So if I wanted to do an application right now for that sibling, I could click on this link right here. Remember, that's the name that we put in. It would say an actual name there where it says sibling Ramos. Okay, from this part right here, I can print the application for signatures. So I'll start running that so I can show you how that works. Takes a minute for it to come up. Okay, I'm going to open it, and now we can see we have an application here now that just has recorded the information that they gave us. So if something's, for example, those environmental questions where there was, where didn't answer that yes, those are off the page, and only the ones that they said yes to are on this page here. Okay, you can print from this screen right here, and you can get signatures. You only need one parent signature, even though there's a space here for two of them. Okay, I'm going to close out of that. This is it's come up as a PDF, so you can print it just as a regular PDF from your computer here. If I have not already added this child to a waiting list, I can click here to add them to a waiting list. Or if in the conversation they've decided they don't want to be on the waiting list, they're no longer interested from what they've learned, you can check that the parent does not want to be on the waiting list here. I have already added this child to the waiting list during the pre-screen stage, though, so I'm going to skip that right now. And I'm finished with his application. I'm going to close this. I want to quickly show you one more version of the pre-screen. The application, we previously screened Randa here. I am going to click on Create Application for her and review her information. At the time that we pre-screened Randa, she was in foster care. If she is back with family members now, not in foster care, I could change that at the point I start the application here by clicking No. And then I'd have a chance down below to add the current legal guardians and that sort to this list. I'm going to just quickly say that I viewed her birth date on her foster care authorization letter, and that's where I also could tell who was legally allowed to enroll her in ECAP, and that I've got her family size from her foster care grant too, because we only count the foster children here in this situation. Okay, I'm clicking Next. Family income. It didn't let me go past this page because I didn't enter the foster care grant number. So, child in foster care, you got to enter that number. And I'm going to go on. Here, on the second page, I'm checking, verifying all the information here. Okay, nothing has changed. Going on. I'm hitting the income screen, and this is what I wanted to show you. For a child who's in foster care on child-only TANF, not family TANF, but the child-only TANF grant that happens in kinship care, or that rare situation of homeless with no parent or legal guardian, then we don't have any need to enter any additional income information here. If their situation's changed, this tells you where to go to make the changes. But if they are truly foster care, child-only TANF, or homeless with no parent or legal guardian, I'm just clicking OK, and I'm done with the income page now and on to the next page. And that's what I wanted to be able to show you here. Okay, so I'm going to close out of her record. I want to let you know that you can come back to an application and make changes to it up until that time that you enroll the child to the class within ELMS. As soon as you've assigned the child to a class within ELMS, then you can no longer make a change in the application. If you later find that there's an error, you'll need to contact the Department of Early Learning ELMS support staff to get that change made. The reasons for that is that once we enroll a child, we want their eligibility locked down for legal purposes so that we can always prove that only eligible children are getting into ECAP. Okay, I'm going to take a minute and show you on the DEL website where you can find paper versions of the application. So if you have gone to www.del for Department of Early Learning.lawforwashington.gov/ECAP. On the right of the screen, you can click on ECAP Forms and Documents. Then scroll down to where it says Enrollment Forms. And the paper child application is on this form on this list in English and in Spanish, as well as many other paper forms and resources that you use in the eligibility process. Those are explained in some more detail in the training module on eligibility and enrollment overview. Okay, I'm going to take us back here. Here's the list of all the eligibility enrollment training modules. The first one, the eligibility and enrollment overview, walks you through the ECAP requirements that are related to this topic. The additional modules take you into more detail and show you how these things could work how they work in ELMS. So today you saw the child application module, the third one. You can learn more detail about income verification on the fourth one, more detail about priority points on the fifth one. But if you're ready to look at your waiting list and enroll a child, you're going to want to go to the module on the waiting list and enrollment. Anytime you have suggestions or have questions about ELMS or need assistance, please email us at elms@del.wa.gov. That's the quickest way to get support with ELMS. Thanks for your time today, and let us know if you have questions or suggestions.